In this tutorial, we're going to talk about the Beat Boss feature of the Cobalt consoles. The Beat Boss can be used to synchronize step-based effects like chase effects and content effects to a single BPM value. The Beat Boss is designed to be a live playback tool. It's not recordable, but it allows you to make adjustments on the fly to running effects based on a manually entered value, a value you dial in, or a value that you tap in. I'm going to set up two content effects so that we can see how the Beat Boss works. Effect 1, I'm going to assign to one set of my spotlights in 6 parts sequential. When I bring this up, we're going to see each of the lights fade up and then pop off. And they're in green so that we can see that that's running off of one effect playback. I'm going to do a similar thing now on the back row of spots, and those are in blue. And because I worked on these two effects separately and brought them up at different times, you can see they're doing a very similar thing, but they're not synchronized to each other. I've recorded these effects already in a preset so I can turn them on and off easily for this demonstration. So I'll turn them off manually now and show you what they look like when I bring them up on my preset. And you can see that they are synchronized to one another, but right now if I wanted to make any changes to their timing, I would need to select them as they're selected now and make a change using the rate tap parameter either on the encoders or in the device controls dock. This is how you can make adjustments to running effects that you want to record and play back later using a go button or a master playback. If I'm in a live situation, I might want to have a little bit easier control over multiple running effects, where I don't have to manually select them first, where I can just make an adjustment to one object and have all connected effects change based on that adjustment. That's what a Beat Boss is for. So you can see in the device controls dock and in the effects tab that there's a parameter called Beat Boss. When I open that parameter, you can see there are 9 Beat Bosses available and a 10th position, which is none. None is the default. It simply means there's nothing that is synchronizing this effect. All of its timing information comes from what you've entered on the parameters itself. In this case, I'm going to take these two effects and assign them to Beat Boss 1. Their rate on stage has changed a little bit, and that's because of the default value of the Beat Boss, and I can show that to you in the Beat Boss dock. In this case, I'm just right-clicking in the frame on this screen and opening up the Beat Boss dock, where you can see all 9 of your Beat Bosses, and they're all at the default state of 120 beats per minute. Like I said, I can manually enter a value, so I could say I want 60 beats per minute. Both effects are now running off of that BPM value. I can use this dock like wheels and roll the change in and out. And you can see that effects are still synchronized now to a BPM value of 177. Or I can listen, in this case, to the music in my head and tap in a beat that corresponds to what I'm currently hearing. And again, both of my effects look very similar because they're both set to the same values, running on different lights, and both using 108 as the BPM value. I'll point out, everything I've done so far, the effects have been selected. They don't have to be. So I'm going to clear my selection. Right now, nothing is selected. And I can still make adjustments to Beat Boss 1, slowing it down or speeding it up. And you can see that those two effects are still responding in a synchronized way to the changes I make to the Beat Boss object. So you don't have to have any selections. Any effect that you've got assigned to Beat Boss 1 will use that value to create its step timing. Put that back to the default. Now, I am going to select one of these effect playbacks, and I'm going to change its rate tap parameter. Everything we've done so far has had the rate tap parameter at 100%, so it's 100% of whatever the value of Beat Boss 1 is. If I change this one to 200%, what you'll see on stage is that effect number 1's lights are running twice as fast as effect number 2's lights. They're both synchronized to 120 BPM, but the rate tap value can be used as a multiplier on that BPM value so that you can have a single handle creating the bass tempo, and then a multiplier effect that will slow down or speed up individual effects that are listening to that beat boss. So you can create some complex synchronizations using the rate tap parameter. I'll throw in a couple more of these just in case. So you can see with 60 beats per minute, every time one blue light moves, 2 green lights have moved. And that's because the green effect is running at 200% and the blue effect is running at 100%. Sometimes it's nice to have the beat boss on an actual piece of hardware as opposed to on a touchscreen. You can do this in the master list in the browser, which I'll open up quickly. Clear in browser closes all the open branches, and we'll find the masters section of the browser and go to the master list. This is a live view of all my current masters. And what I want to do is I want to put on master 20, which is currently empty, our beat boss. So I'm going to open that cell, type in beat. You can see beat boss is an option. And the content has to be a beat boss number 1 through 9. So I'm going to choose beat boss number 1 and close my master list. So now on master 20, you can see we have beat boss number 1. It's currently set to 60 beats per minute. I'll open up the dock. You can see here it's also set to 60 beats per minute. And now I have 2 different controls, either the screen where I could tap in a value or my master encoder where I can also tap in a value. I can also make adjustments to that value by dialing it in. You can see it changes in both places, or I can type a number and hit that encoder and it will go specifically to that value. So it becomes a more hands-on control for your beat bosses to have them on masters. You can put beat bosses on the upper row with the encoders or on the bottom row with the faders. We find, however, that the encoder row feels better when you're controlling beat bosses than a fader does. In my browser, under Effects, I can find my beat bosses list. So I'll open that up. And here you can see a simple table with all of my beat bosses. And now I can give my beat boss some kind of name that makes sense. And I can see that name in the beat boss dock. This helps me keep track of which one is controlling which types of effects. These are the basics of using the beat boss. One additional recommendation I have for you if you choose to use them is to use beat bosses on a single type of effect at a time. The calculations that are made for running chase effect playbacks are slightly different from the calculations made for running content effect playbacks. So it's best to gang chases together and to gang content effects together, but keep those 2 types on separate beat bosses. This will ensure that you get better performance from your synchronizations.